Hi, my name is Chris Ryder, and today we're going to be talking about card tearing, the classic feat of strength. And how to do it, just like that. So I want to get started a little bit with the types of cards that you may come across as you're looking to get started in this. I'm going to start with some range of difficulty for easiest, and we'll build from there. One of the older style cards, and today one of the cheapest cards that are out on the market, is something like this. This particular pack was $1.25 for 2 packs, a blue and a red. These cards, when we take a look at them, you can notice right off the bat, looking at the pack, there is a big difference compared to like a casino deck. They're a lot thinner. The stock that they use to make these out of is much, much thinner. There is a lot less of the plastic coating on these cards as well. Let me pull these out and take a look at them up close. There's on the face and then also on the back. And you can see just how flimsy they are. There's really not much to them whatsoever. They tear very simply. And you can see how the card is separating as you go to tear it between the layers. It's really not a whole lot to them. Gripping up on a deck like this is just pretty simple. They tear kind of ugly. It's not a whole lot of resistance. And when we look in at the tear line, you can see that again. It's very jagged, haphazard, and you can see all the fibers from the cardboard that's inside of them. They do have their place amongst the tearing. They're a good place to start to get the feel of what it's like to hold on to a full deck. But as far as building up, they're definitely just a very rudimentary starting point. Going from there, there are higher quality cards that come from particular dollar stores. If anybody can happen to make out what that logo is. This is a deck that was put out by this particular store many years ago. I've been into this now a little over 10 years. I pulled them out today from my archives. These are some of the earlier cards that I had purchased and put back. They've changed multiple times over the years to this design. And what I have just found currently is this design. Now all 3 of these different types, they're from the same store. Again, if you look real close, you can tell where they're from. These are better quality than what that first deck that I showed you was. Open a pack of these up. They're still a little on the thin side when you're going to compare them to like a casino deck, but the paper stock it's tougher stock. They're not as flimsy when you shake them. It's not just vibrating in the breeze. And the plastic coating on them is a better quality plastic. They're slicker, so it requires a little more grip when you're holding onto them to prevent them from fanning out. And then again, there's a little more resistance to them when you go to tear them. They're still pretty simple to tear, but it's a little bit more than what the first ones were. A little bit of a cleaner tear than what The very cheap paper-based cards were these with the plastic coating on and a little bit heavier cardstock. They didn't want to crumble as much as going through the deck with the cheaper ones. From there, the next step up would be some of the lower cost cards that come from some of the bigger stores around. These particular cards, you can pick them up at Walmart. Mavericks, they're pretty standard. If you take a look on the Maverick branding, you're going to notice the United States Playing Card Company. U.S. Playing Cards make a lot of the cards that are out there. Same company. Go. The U.S. Playing Card Company with B's. Casino deck of Aristocrats. Same thing, U.S. Playing Card Company. They make a lot. It's a big brand. It's a big parent company that puts out a lot of the cards. Another one of the big companies that are putting a lot of them out is from the maker of the classics, Cardamundis. Cardamundis do a lot of casino decks as well, and they're very big on doing specialty decks. Like these Texas Hold'em decks, when we pull them out and take a look at them, we're not going to get into too many details on these, but this is a specialty deck, and when we look at it in comparison to a regular deck, it's slightly smaller, more along the lines of like a bridge deck, which then in turn makes it a little bit harder to tear just because of the smaller size and the less leverage going into it. These cards are very high quality. They're thicker than a standard deck is, so it's going to change the way that it sits in your hands slightly, and they're very rigid with a good plastic coating, so the pain factor increases with these as well. I'd like to talk a little bit about consistency moving into your cards. There's a lot of inconsistencies that are out there. For example, I'm going to take these B cards that I have in front of me. Now, looking at them on the surface, it's B and it's B. One's blue, one's red. The big difference between these two is this is a casino deck made to the casino specifications. These are standard B decks for consumers. There's a lot of knockoffs out there for the Bs. I've seen them come across branded as, instead of BEE, they would be BCC. I've seen BEC. I've seen BCE. All sorts of different variations, but all made to look like the B decks, but they're not. Within the brand, these particular B cards, I had found a 12-pack of these many years ago, and when I got them home, I took a look at them. I thought something doesn't seem right. When I pulled them out of the packaging, the plastic coating, the clear plastic coating over top of the cardstock on this particular deck is so thick, it looks like a clear coat on a high-end automotive paint job. You can literally see depth in the clear, and they are obnoxiously hard to tear. Compared to what your standard deck would be. I don't know if that was something from a specification that changed, if it was a setup error, a manufacturing error, or what it was, but there are inconsistencies that happen throughout all the brands. Even bicycles, they vary tremendously. What I've got here is one of my display boards from my office. You can see a lot of bicycle brand cards in this display case. A lot of different tears, anywhere from vertical to notch to standard horizontal tears. Down at the bottom we got some mini decks, mini deck notch, mini deck vertical. But it's a lot of different cards. Aristocrats, double corner, that's from the maker of Bicycle as well. The Hoyle is in the US playing card family as well. And all of these are inconsistent to each other for how they tear. If anything is the same, it's everything's different. So when you find a particular type of card that is working well for you and you like, load up on it. Like Slim the Hammer Man said, he said, when you find something you like, buy enough to last you as long as you intend to do it. These things change a lot. Another big change that I just discovered within the cards is these Planet Hollywood cards. These things used to be very simple, and they changed out the manufacturer. As somebody running a casino, let's say, is looking to put cards in their casino, they're going to different manufacturers to get the best deal and the best product that they can to perpetuate their business. They're not particularly looking out for us trying to tear them. So as things change within business and better opportunities come up within business, they take those opportunities and run with them. These cards are now made by Aristocrat. Now, Aristocrat, as far as the casino decks go, Aristocrats are very similar within the variable tolerances to Bicycle brand cards. They're flexible, they're pliable, they've got a good plastic coating on them, so they work well, they fan out nice, they flourish nice for anybody who's into doing those type of magic trick type scenarios. They're very similar in feel to the Bicycles. These have increased in difficulty quite a bit from the old manufacturer for Planet Hollywood. And they tear very similar to what the Bicycles do. Now, if you heard that at the end, it was a very nice crisp finish, the sound of a good quality card with a quality plastic coating on them. You can hear them. Again, more Aristocrats. They have all kinds of different casinos that are coming to them. Here's one from Excalibur. Here's one from the Palms. Now, it used to be that every time I would get used casino cards, they would come back in the manufacturer's box. So you can take a look very quickly and know, okay, this pack of Palms is Aristocrats, and you have somewhat of an idea of what you're dealing with. They've changed that. So now it's trial and error and just experience of picking up cards, trying them out, figuring out what they are, if you like the way that they feel or not. And if you do, again, you load up at the time. Another pack of Aristocrats. And right there on the ace card, it's got the A for Aristocrat, and then it's also got the United States Playing Card Company, made in USA. Casino cards can save you a lot on your expenses as far as getting into card tearing and building up with card tearing. A way that I like to buy a lot of them for training purposes. Of course, when I go out to do a show, I want a deck that's in a box, and normally I want a sealed pack from the manufacturer that's still in the plastic and all ready to go. But as far as training goes, you can order used casino decks. They pull them out of circulation, pull them out of play, bundle them up, and seal them. You can buy them very economically this way. When I get them, it's 144 decks for $60 plus shipping. That dramatically cuts your cost for your training. You can pick those up off of Amazon and a few other places through simple Google searches. Let's see how these pleasure pick cards are. I'll give you another tear here. That nice finish there at the end. Sounds like a zipper going through wood. Absolutely love that sound. So let's look now into application of tearing cards. Just because these are right here in front of me, I'm going to keep on with the aristocrat theme here, aristocrats. And they're just cool. It's a real cool design. I like them. Now let's look at card tearing for what it is. We're tearing a stack of plastic coated paper. But let's break it down and make it a little simpler. What's a stack made up of? It's made up of individual cards. So, can you tear a full deck of cards? What does your mindset tell you about tearing a full deck of cards? Is it something that seems likely for you? Is it something that seems like it's outlandish? Can you visualize yourself doing it? If not, I want you to think about things a little bit differently. We're going to think about individual cards. And it's no different than tearing any other piece of paper, junk mail that shows up at the house, anything you want to get rid of. What's the physics behind tearing a single sheet? It's very simple. You grab at opposing areas, one side goes down, one side comes up, and it creates a focal point in between the two areas that are grasped. And with increasing force, one hand pushes, one hand pulls until it gives way and it's torn. Just like that. Now, taking a full deck like that and pinching it here and pinching this, that's not going to be the easiest thing to accomplish because of how slick they are, and there's no bracing, nothing holding them together. Trying to pinch and have the card shift, you don't want them washing out. So the way that we would do that is, let's think about a different mode of attack. How would we go about relating this to an everyday task? Well, let's think about simply taking the lid off of a jar. And how do you do that? You grab the jar firmly with one hand. We've got multiple contact points going on so that the base can't slip out on us. And the next thing you do is you come up from the top and you grab the lid, and using your wrist strength, you take it and twist the lid right off. The cards are the same thing. Now, again, getting started, or if you're having problems currently with where you're at in your training with a full deck, we're going to look at a mode of progression. Deck of cards minus indicator cards and the jokers are 52. Okay, we've got 4 suits of 13. 13 and 13 is 26, 26, 26, 52. If we can split this deck into 26 and 26, so we've got 2 suits here, 2 suits here, and we can start by gripping up, getting everything right, and going through that 26. That's half a deck. That's 26. There's 52 cards in a deck. There's 52 weeks in a year. There's 26 weeks in 6 months. If you just went through half that deck, and we come back next week, and we take that 26 again, and we add one more for 27. and we put that on the deck. And we do the same thing, follow the same process, and we go right through, and we take the deck in half. I didn't even feel that. You won't feel that one card either. But if we do that consistently for 6 months, for 26 weeks, 26 cards, 52, you just progressed yourself into a full deck in 6 months. What do you think of that? And that's the type of mindset that you want to have. You want to look at the progression. You want to look at the big picture. We live in an instant world. Look at the way that we're communicating right now. I'm speaking. I'm putting this information out for you. You're receiving it. Bam. Just like that on a live feed. This is also going to be made available on YouTube once we wrap up here. But it's the information age. It's right there instantly at our fingertips all the time. And a lot of progression gets lost on that because people just want stuff now. But you know what? There's a greater satisfaction in working for something and having come to you over time with the investments. I just got a question that popped up on the screen. I'm curious, are you a left-hander? Watching you hold seems opposite of how I do it. No, I am not a left-hander. It's a right-hand tear. I can tear cards with a left-handed grip, but no, this is right hand. Right hand dominant is going to be your tearing hand. So let me get some more cards out here. So I am right hand dominant. Okay. So my left hand is going to be my holding hand. That's my vice. It's locked into that grip because I have a stronger pinch with my right. This, I don't need as much dexterity or strength in that motion because I can just grab the entire deck there and have it locked in against multiple points of contact throughout the hand. Where my dominant hand comes in, I can articulate that pinch and really lock in. And when you look into my hand, it's really not that much of a contact area that's happening with the tearing hand. And then in conjunction, we have the left wrist, non-dominant wrist. It's cranking in this plane. And then my right hand, my dominant wrist, is cranking in this plane. As it's cranking in this plane, I'm not getting my elbow all up in here and trying to twist it like a corkscrew. I'm locking it in. I'm initiating the motion with the wrist and following it up with the elbow. And it's just coming straight across like that. Think about a pair of scissors, a pair of hedge clippers, anything that's going to cut, a shear press for metal. So this wrist, I'm holding, I've got a nice line, and this wrist is hitting this motion. Again, think about the scissors, like this. This hand is coming in here, backed up with the elbow. With this plane going on, the elbow is increasing my leverage by maintaining this straight line where I can throw that right across. Now look at what the motion is. I'm coming in from the left, I'm coming in from the right. Just like that giant shear press or anything else would be going to make a cut. Another question, would you say tearing cards is more of a grip thing or strength coming from the wrist? And is there anything that you recommend doing outside of tearing cards to build the pinch, grip, wrist strength? The number one thing that you can do in training any of the feats is train the feat specifically for itself. There are external types of exercises that you can use. There may be some corollaries, but the greatest thing that you're ever going to find is actually accomplishing the task at a lower resistance level and progressively building to get better. I got a comment that came in. I have very small hands. How would you go about gripping since my fingers are shorter and my overall palm space is small? I'm going to throw something right back at you. I've helped individuals who are 5 foot tall and 104 pounds, tear cards and phone books and all kinds of other things. Eliminate the limits of your thinking. It's really not, I'm not using my hand size to completely encircle and engulf the cards. A larger hand size would actually be detrimental to what it is that you're trying to do, because you're going to have too much getting in the way. Look at my tearing hand. This hand's just holding on. Even, let's say that my fingers were shorter and I would be choked out like this, I can still hold these the way that I need to hold them. This is just what's comfortable for me, but this would work just as well if I had not as much of a span to get around. As far as the tearing hand goes, it's all about the thumb and the ability of the thumb to pinch against the index finger, coupled with the strength of the wrist to crank the cards around, just like that. So let's look now at setting up the tear. And to do so, I'm just going to kick this back into half decks. I've been tearing a lot of decks here. I'm getting a pretty big mess here, just to conserve some cards and do more examples so we can just keep running through this. Again, I'm right hand dominant, so I'm going to set up in my left hand. When I'm going to set up, I'm not pinned all the way back against my palm. I'm finding this line on my thumb, and I'm putting that edge of the deck back against that thumb, and I'm gauging it so I can get an index and a middle finger on the cards. I don't want 3 fingers on the cards. I don't want 1 finger on the card. I want 2 fingers on the card. My ring finger then is going to come under the bottom of the deck, and I call this sitting on the shelf. So as we go to grab up, if the ring finger is in this position, it's going to sit right on that shelf. The middle and the index, side by side, they're not spaced out, flared out. This does come in for advanced tearing, which I can help those of you with who are at that point and consistently going through full decks. If you're looking to take your card tearing to another level, I do offer my Skype video coaching program where we work beyond the rudiment to get more intricate tears, things like you would see here in this display box, like notching, vertical tears, double vertical, corners, double corners, mini decks, all sorts of different types of advancements on the rudiment of card tearing. Okay, so again, we're going to take a look at this. I've got my pinky and my ring finger pulled in. My index and middle are still pointing. I'm going to put the cards right down on the shelf on the ring finger of my holding hand, non-dominant hand. I am right on this line of the thumb. See how the webbing comes down, and then right where it straightens out there on the thumb, that's where the cards are going to anchor in there, just like that. Now, next thing I want you to take a look at is, what do we do with this corner? We take the tip of the ring finger and push that back into the thumb pad on our holding hand. And then the pinky just comes underneath and the thumb comes down and holds. The thumb isn't even contacting this half a deck just because there isn't enough width there. It's contacting on the stacked edge. Okay, everybody got a good look at what's going on here. Next thing, once you have it set in your grip, that we need to do is what I call back pressure. There's a lot of people out there who don't utilize back pressure in setting up. What I mean by back pressure is I just have my ring finger and pinky finger lifted so you can see what's going on, and the back pressure is driving the deck in toward the palm of the holding hand, non-dominant hand, to get a curve, just a very slight banana curve in the deck. And we're going to get that and hold it in. We're not looking to crush the cards like this. That's not the goal. That's not what we want. We just want a nice curve. What that curve is doing inside of your holding hand is it's dropping this corner. Remember to one of the earlier demonstrations I did with a single piece, how do we tear anything? One corner down, one corner up, and pull in opposite directions. So to get this corner to drop, which is going to be buried inside the hand, what we need to do is utilize that back pressure and pin that back into the hand without over crushing. Now, how do we get this corner to come up? By putting the back pressure into the deck, we have created rigidity through the entire deck. If you maintain that back pressure all the way from one end of the deck to the other, and you go to turn just this corner with this back pressure, you're going to create a focal point. See the S forming in the top of the deck? You're going to create a focal point in the top of the deck of the cards. What happens there is people then inadvertently start a vertical tear, or the deck just crushes as you start to apply the force. What we need to do is find a way to turn this corner up while having this corner down and eliminating this. And this is the way that I do it. I'm going to come back here behind the camera so you can see this. I take the palm of my dominant hand to the back of my hand and I push it over. When I'm pushing over like this, what we now have is a very straight top. However, I've still got back pressure inside of my holding hand. With this now straight, I can turn up this corner. Look at that. They're starting to tear already. And you can see what happened. I've got one corner going in one direction and another corner going in the opposite direction. Something that you want to stay away from when setting this up is just trying to get it over and then standing up like this. Notice how straight the back of the deck is now. It's very vertically straight. And notice my hand, wrist, and forearm position. I'm back into this corkscrew position, which doesn't work. We need to maintain these lines. Okay? So in order to do that, we set on the shelf, index and middle of the holding hand, non-dominant hand, pin the opposing corner into the thumb pad with the tip of the ring, thumb comes over, back pressure comes in, palm of the dominant hand to the back of the non-dominant hand, push it over, and see how I just slid that right over. What we're looking to do now is we want the thumb at a 45-degree angle. I'm just catching that corner so I can turn just that corner up. A big thing that a lot of people have a hang up with their card tearing is they try to get too much hand on it, and they're trying to grip it with everything that they have and all these fingers on, and you lose all of your dexterity, you lose all of your ability to focus that tear to where it wants to go, where you want it to go, where it needs to be effective. So, comes over, look how it's sliding out through my palm. My thumb is ending up at a 45-degree angle, and now I'm backing my thumb up with my index finger in a key pinch. Like you would put a key in a door and turn it. That's the grip. That's what we're looking for on these cards. when I'm making that contact and it comes over, look at how much of the card is actually contacting in my tearing hand. It's just there on the thumb pad. It's not way back into the palm. It's not all these fingers on it. It's a very, very strong pinch. You gotta have strong thumbs. Really strong thumbs to hold on to this. One more thing that we want to look at is, again, we talked about not wanting to do the corkscrew. And even with, you can have the corkscrew grip with your arm down and it's still not going to tear very well. Look at the deflection that I have in my wrist. We don't want that. We want nice, even, straight planes that work very well. So when you're looking at your hands, like here, I'm ready to tear. What do you notice about my hands? Now, I'm in my 40s. When I was instructed how to drive, it was 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. And then last time I heard anything, they were talking about 9 and 3. I don't know if it's still like that now or not. But 10 and 2 is what we're looking for. Look at the angle. It's like I've already bent a piece of steel in my hands. I'm not trying to tear from here, where my hands are actually stacked vertically. They're at a very comfortable, relaxed 10 and 2 position, just like this. And when we do that, and we put everything together, come over, we can just tear them right in half at arm's length, initiating wrist strength. All the planes are where you need them to be. Just like that. I'm going to set up, I'm going to do another tear from behind the camera so you can see it from your perspective as you're looking at a computer screen watching this. Your hands and my hands are going to be doing a similar thing. So we'll step through this again. This is half a deck, 26 cards. Non-dominant hand, ring finger and pinky come in, set them on the shelf. That crease of the thumb as it sets up, index and middle come in, thumb's just kind of hanging out. Pinned with the tip of the non-dominant ring finger into that thumb pad. We now bring the dominant hand, palm of the dominant hand to the back of the non-dominant hand, push over, straightening out the top of the deck, 45-degree angle on the thumb, key pinch, and the left non-dominant hand, holding hand, is going to be working in this plane. Dominant tearing hand is working in this plane, just like their scissors coming together again. So here we go in real time, just like that. I just got another comment that was talking about another lefty. Actually, no, I'm not left-handed. Since we've got multiple comments of that coming in, I'm going to actually set up left-handed for you. So we're going to come in, again, just to conserve cards. We're going to set up here with just half a deck. So for the lefties out there, you're going to be cranking with your left because your left is going to be your dominant hand. Your holding hand will be your non-dominant hand, which in this case would be the right for the left-handers. Everything's the same, it's just mirror image. Cards come down right at that seam in the thumb. They're going to come down deep enough to get an index and middle finger on, That's where we set. The ring and the pinky will come in. We create the shelf. The cards sit right on the shelf. Index, middle come on. We get our back pressure coming in. Come over the top. Grab our corner and tear them right in half. So I will also grab the other half a deck and I'll come behind the camera and run through the left-handed tear behind the camera as well. Okay, so non-dominant hand. We're going to come in. First thing we're going to do is sit on the shelf of that ring finger. Sit on the shelf. We're in that segment of the thumb. Middle and index come on, creating a nice bow with back pressure. The tip of that ring finger pins the corner of the deck into the thumb pad. We come over the top with the dominant hand, catch at a 45-degree angle, and work in those same straight planes and tear them right in half. Okay, so this is coming up. It's the video, Chris. Even when you're behind the camera, it shows your left on our right. Another comment comes on. Yes, this is. You can definitely do this with a full deck. Somebody to join the conversation later. I'm just going to pull open a full deck here of Aristocrats. Grip up, real tight, and right through the full deck, just like that. And yeah, that can be done right hand or left hand. It's a little more difficult with your non-dominant hand setup. Like if I was to be tearing left-handed, like I just did, what happens being ambidextrous with the feet is one side of the brain wants to control one side of the body, the other side wants to control the other, and you start mixing signals because this hand's doing one thing, this hand's doing something else. It would be similar to playing right-hand guitar and then switching to try to play left-hand guitar. The two hands are doing different tasks, and it can confuse the system. Plus, you're going to be stronger with your dominant hand, so your workload is going to be higher, you're going to push harder, you're going to get more satisfaction out of doing bigger feats that way. How much different is the technique when doing two decks at once? It's just a different placement in the hands. Instead of having one deck like this, now it's just a bigger handful. Bigger handful. Everything else is the same. It's just your hands are opened up more and it's more resistance. One of my trainers just commented that, "Trainer, you need to train me now." A nice compliment there. Any other questions that we have here before we wrap up? Absolutely, you're welcome. There was a lot of conflicting information that I had seen out there for people getting started in the rudiment of card tearing, and I really wanted to do this, to put it out there that there's different ways to do it than what you may have seen, and this is my life. This is what I do. It's been very consuming for me for the past 10 plus years. The feats it's my thing. Anybody who is looking to advance in the feats beyond the rudiment, or if you're looking to get started into more feats, steel bending, short steel bending, long steel bending, horseshoes, nail driving, I have a few openings in my Skype video coaching program, and send me a message. We can talk about getting you started on that. Again, do you have a website for this? Can you share the link? So I've got a few websites that are out there. ConeyIslandStrongman.com and BreakthroughStrength.com are two of my websites that deal more with my workshops that I do. I've been transitioning more and more into personal development and using the feats as a catalyst for personal development. I'm heavily involved in those types of studies, and what I have learned in studying that is the things that have made me successful as a strongman in being able to do the feats that I've done, including bending US pennies with the fingers. It's those same things can be applied to every aspect in life and completely change your life and your perception of the world in moving forward. I mean, on a daily basis, you do what the masses consider to be impossible. Well, they're not impossible. We take impossible and we change that to, okay, maybe it's just improbable. Well, through work, we can take improbable and have that become possible. And then possible becomes probable, which then turns into commonplace. And you just routinely go through things that have other people just scratching their head wondering what is going on. Or a lot of times, what's the trick? Well, there is no trick. It's hard work. There may be a secret, and the secret is this. As stated by Earl Nightingale, one of my mentors, and Earl put the strangest secret in the world: we become what we think about most of the time. Do you think you can, or do you think you can't? You're absolutely right. Thanks, everybody. I am going to wrap this up here tonight. Anybody who has more questions, please feel free to message me on Facebook. You can also send emails, direct them to ConeyIslandStrongman@gmail.com. That is the inbox that I'm setting up for these Q&A sessions. And I will see you next time. We're going to continue on with these Sundays at 6 with Hairculese. Thanks, everybody.